I'm going through the Pokédex and turning each mon into a Dungeons & Dragons monster. In the last video, you chose your starter, and now you're entering Route 1's Tall Grass, where you find the Route 1 bug Pokemon and its first Route 1 bird Pokemon. So let's start forging. Starting with Caterpie and Weedle, I'm going to make these monsters really weak because the standard adventurer should be able to take one of these out. I mean, the average person should be able to take one of these out. Look at these things. I could take these in a fight. I mean, I hope I could. For both of these, I will make them tiny beasts with an AC of 10. We will have to use a d4 for their hit points because they are tiny creatures. So they will get 2d4 plus 2 for an average of 7 HP. For speed, I will give them 5 feet because they have to crawl around. And for their stats, they will both get a stat total of 20. Both stats will be almost identical, with 2 in strength, 2 in dexterity, 8 in constitution, 4 in intelligence, 3 in wisdom, and 1 in charisma. For Weedle, I'm going to swap the intelligence and the wisdom numbers around, just to make them have some slight difference. Lastly, their actions. Caterpie will get its iconic move, String Shot. This is a ranged attack with a +2 to hit, and a range of 5 to 15 feet. If successful, the target's movement speed is reduced by 5 until the start of its next turn. No damage for this poor Caterpie, but an annoying slow for sure. For Weedle, it will get its iconic move, Poison Sting. This is a melee weapon attack that has a +2 to hit, dealing 1d4 -1 piercing damage, and the target must make a DC 10 Constitution save or take 1d4 poison damage. These two seem really weak, but put a couple of them in the same forest and they would make for an interesting encounter for a level 1 party. Now, you venture deeper into the nest, and you find some that are reaching level 7 and evolve into Cocoon and Metapod. These two do nothing. In game, all they do is harden. That's the only move they can learn as well. So I thought I would play into this meme. Their speed drops down to 0 because the Pokédex entries state that they either can't move or are almost incapable of moving. Their HP gets bumped up to 2d6 because they are now small, making their average HP 8. And we're going to give them an AC of 19, which is crazy high, but that's the best part. Their stats stay the same, except their dexterity drops down to 0, and their constitution gets bumped up to 12. Their only action is Harden, which raises their AC by 1, and can stack up to 4 times, making their AC 23. Since they can't damage you or move away, their challenge rating is still 0. But I think this would be a funny creature to put in front of a door in a dungeon, or to block an escape route. The level 5 party can't break through the armor of this Pokemon until they use a dex saving throw spell, like Lightning Bolt, and the Kakuna explodes. The wizard will definitely feel smug after that one. When these two shed their shell, they evolve into their final stage forms, Butterfree and Beedrill, ending the AC roller coaster at 14, with 14d6 plus 25, or 74 HP, and a movement speed of 15 with 25 feet of flying. For stats, they have 8 in strength, 16 in dexterity, 10 in constitution, 8 in intelligence, 12 in wisdom, and 12 in charisma. For Butterfree, their intelligence and wisdom switch around like its previous evolutions. I decided to do this because Butterfree gets some psychic moves, so intelligence being higher made sense. Butterfree and Beedrill both get innate spellcasting, with Butterfree getting it once a day and Beedrill getting it twice a day. Both use their dexterity as their spellcasting modifier, and the spell save will be 14. Butterfree will be able to cast Sleep to resemble the move Sleep Powder, and Beedrill will be able to cast Magic Missile to resemble the move Pin Missile. Butterfree gets a multi-attack where it can make 2 bite attacks and 1 buzz attack. Its bite attack is supposed to resemble the move Bug Bite, and it will deal 1d6 plus 3 piercing damage. Its buzz move is to resemble the move Bug Buzz, where it vibrates its wings, making a loud buzzing sound. Any creature within 20 feet of this must make a DC 14 Constitution save, or take 14 or 4d6 thunder damage. Beedrill gets a multi-attack as well, where it can make 3 poison jab attacks. Its poison jab attack deals 1d6 plus 3 piercing damage, and the target must make a DC 14 Constitution save or take 3 or 1d6 poison damage. These two end up being a CR 4. Not too strong, but I think they would be a very cool boss for a bug-themed dungeon. Before we move on to one of the most iconic Route 1 bird Pokemon, consider dropping a like on this video if you're enjoying it so far. It really helps me out. Okay, moving on to the Route 1 bird, let's look at Pidgey. This tiny beast has an AC of 13 and a total hit points of 6d4 plus 15 for an average of 30. Its speed is 20 feet, with a flying of 25. For stats, we will give it a total of 59, breaking it up into 10 in strength, 15 in dexterity, 9 in constitution, 5 in intelligence, 12 in wisdom, and 8 in charisma. With birds, we have to give them a passive perception to resemble its keen eye. Pidgey will have innate spellcasting twice a day, using its dexterity modifier as its spellcasting modifier. With a spell save of 12, this will allow Pidgey to cast the Gust spell. This works as a direct parallel to the Gust move in Pokemon. For its actions, it will get a Peck attack dealing 5 or 1d6 plus 2 piercing damage. When Pidgey evolves into Pidgeotto, its AC goes up to 14 and its HP jumps up to 14d6 plus 30 for an average of 82, and its flying speed gets bumped up to 30 as well. For stats, its stat total jumps up to 72, with 12 in strength, 17 in dexterity, 11 in constitution, 10 in intelligence, 14 in wisdom, and 8 in charisma. Its passive perception goes up to 14, and its innate spellcasting has 4 charges instead of 2. For actions, Pidgeotto gets a multi-attack with 2 Peck attacks, which get a damage buff, making them deal 9 or 2d6 plus 3. These two birds are not too complicated, and it puts them at a CR 1/8 and a CR 2. Evolving up into their final stage of Pidgeot, it is now a medium beast, with an AC of 15 and 19d8 plus 55 for an average of 140 HP. Its walking speed is 20, but what should its flying speed be? Surely its Pokédex says something I can go off of. Wait. So its flying speed should be 13,503 feet a turn? Let's just make it 120. Still insanely fast, but a big nerf compared to its Pokédex entry. For stats, it will have a total of 86, breaking it up into 15 in strength, 20 in dexterity, 10 in intelligence, 16 in wisdom, and 13 in charisma. Its passive perception gets a bump up to 18, and its innate spellcasting can now cast Gust of Wind as well as the Gust cantrip. For attacks, it can make 3 Talon attacks. These Talon attacks deal 3d6 plus 3 slashing damage. And finally, it has another action called Aerial Ace, where Pidgeot flies up into the sky, making a stealth check. If it succeeds the stealth check, it stays hidden in the sky until the start of its next turn. On the start of its next turn, it dives down, targeting one creature. That creature must make a DC 15 dex save or take 22 or 5d8 bludgeoning damage. This ability is really cool and would make for an interesting combat session for sure. Finishing up the numbers from 10 to 18, I think there are some interesting adventures to be had in the world of Pokemon. So subscribe if you want to venture further into the tall grass.